The same governors come to our committees, and before this house, they tell us, oh, Sifuna, you people pass a disbursement schedule, the Treasury never obeys or follows that schedule, we need your help. Mr. Speaker, I didn't get time to confirm with the Senator for Taita Taveta whether his governor was in Nairobi yesterday. Because I cannot believe, Speaker, that we are still discussing pending payments of stipends of only 2,500 shillings to CHPs. Speaker, I was embarrassed beyond words yesterday that we have a whole council of governors sitting in a room where they are being told that as far as the national government is concerned, disbursements to national government never delay, that they arrive on time, that there are no arrears. The same governors come to our committees, and before this house, they tell us, oh, Sifuna, you people pass a disbursement schedule, the Treasury never obeys or follows that schedule, we need your help. I saw them yesterday clapping and ululating, Honorable Speaker, at obvious lies. Honorable Speaker, when you are a governor seated somewhere, you are being told that this year, this financial year, the allocation of equitable share is 450 billion. This house, and I was embarrassed to see some colleagues of mine from this house who processed together with me a budget policy statement saying that they are going to give us 420 billion shillings in this financial year. It is our Committee of Finance that said, as a Senate, that is not acceptable. I saw my colleagues, I saw governors who know the truth, clapping and ululating at obvious misinformation, Honorable Speaker. Then, I don't want to name them, they know themselves. They were so embarrassed. In fact, I saw a spectacle I've never seen, where a governor stood up to challenge the head of state for all her bravery and all the problems that I have with Governor Mbarire. Well done for the women of Kenya. You did well. Because that is exactly what courage requires. In the face of open misinformation and disinformation, you need to stand up for your people and say, Honorable Chair, Honorable Chair, that the amount of money we know you send to Parliament is 420. Where is this figure of 450? Where has it disappeared to? So, Speaker, it is embarrassing, deeply embarrassing, that we can still be discussing 2,500 shillings owed to...
Senator for Nairobi City County. Yes, Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker, I was in that meeting. And sometimes it is good, you know, people sometimes...
Senator Mungatana, you're rising on a point of order or point of information?
I'm rising on a point of order 105, Mr. Speaker, of the standing orders. And I'm asking my friend, the Honorable Senator from Nairobi, even if you want to score political points, is it in order to misinform this House that we were clapping at misinformation when he knows, if he was following, when he knows that the correct statement was given was that there was 385 billion before to this House, then it has been moved to 420 billion, and we are expecting 415, and we are expecting that we will push this figure to 450 billion. Mr. Speaker, even if someone wants to be famous, to get TikTok likes, is it in order to misinform this House when we were there and we had it with our own 2 ears? Is it right, Mr. Speaker? Is it correct to cast aspersions on colleagues, Mr. Speaker? It is not right, Mr. Speaker.
Order, order, honorable senators. Order, Senator Onyonka. Senator Mungatana, that sounds to me more of information than a point of order. So it's up to the Senator for Nairobi City County to use that information as he concludes his remarks.
Mr. Speaker, as we say in Nairobi, there is no information there. And I want to confirm to this House and to Senator Mungatana, I am already famous. I don't need to be more famous than I am right now. So the things that I am saying on this floor are not to earn me fame. I am already famous. I am saying we saw you on TV clapping at obvious misinformation. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if Mungatana was in this House when the report from the Committee of Finance was presented to this House. It is the report of this committee that we passed on the budget policy statement that told us that the proposal from Treasury is to award or to give counties 420 billion Kenya shillings. The least I would have expected from a member of this House who was present there, and some of them call themselves Mulabamba, would have to stand up the way Governor Cecily Mbarile stood up and said, Honorable President, Mr. President, the figure that Mbadi sent to the House was 420. If he sent the wrong figure, you correct it there. The way that Cecily Mbarile, the only person who had the, I don't want to use the word that is in my head.
What is your point of order, Senator Ledama?
Mr. Speaker, I rise on point of order, on standing order number 105, on statement of facts. Mr. Speaker, it is factual that this House is the one that determines the shareable revenue. It is this House that is the one that passes the division of revenue bill and not the executive. Is it in order for the distinguished senator from Nairobi to take his time here, first of all, to thumb chest and say he's famous, to be populist, and to lie to the public that we take the figures which are given to us by Treasury? In the last Parliament, Mr. Speaker, we sat here for over and voted for over 11 times on the shareable revenue. Is it in order for him to say that the final figure will be determined by Treasury? Mr. Speaker, I was in that meeting. When I was in that meeting, I heard the President saying that last year, which was factual, the figure which was brought by Treasury was supposed to be 385. This House moved it to 415 billion shillings. Now, this year, the proposed figure is 450 billion. That is what the statement which was read yesterday by the President suggested. So, it is wrong and premature, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable senators.
It is wrong and premature for the distinguished senator to anticipate
Senator
debate, Mr.
Olekina.
Speaker. So my statement...
Senator Olekina, just give me a minute. You will proceed to prosecute your case. Now, honorable senators, you know Senator Olekina is on a point of order. How then do you seek a point of order or seek to inform him when he's on the floor? Allow Senator Ledama to conclude his point of order. Thereafter, I'll make directions. If you still have any points of orders to make, you can only do so to a member who is contributing, not a member who is on their feet trying to prosecute a point of order. Conclude.
Mr. Speaker, we may seek to be populist, we may seek to misinform the public, but facts are stubborn, and they are stubborn. And the fact is very clear, and that is why I'm seeking your direction on this matter. Is it in order for the distinguished senator of Nairobi to lie to the public that the statement which was read by the President yesterday suggested that 420 billion is what was sent to the county governments? If we can limit our debate and have a sense of occasion and deal on matters that are being brought to this House, we'll be doing this country a service. The question that was raised, Mr. Speaker, had to do with the issue of those health officers, CEPs. Can we, CHPs? It is factual, Mr. Speaker, that is a shared responsibility between the county governments and the national government. So can we remain and focus, be factual? And I know, Mr. Speaker, that the distinguished senator today had a forum where he purported to say that whatever was said yesterday were lies. But can we be factual, Mr. Speaker, and say this is water and it remains as water? It cannot have wine inside, Mr. Speaker. We should not take this place to make it a populist gathering ground, Mr. Speaker. Facts are very stubborn, and Mr. Speaker, I would like the distinguished senator to table the evidence that what was said yesterday was that county government received 420 billion. You know, we cannot be sitting here and entertaining a charade of populism. Let us be leaders, and we remain as leaders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Honorable Senators, Senator for Nairobi City County, your colleagues who attended that meeting have put the record straight. You're now fully informed of what transpired in that meeting, the figures that were discussed in that meeting. Kindly proceed now to use that information to conclude your remarks.
Honorable Speaker, that is some of the most useless information that has ever been tabled on the floor of this House. I have no use for that information because it is a fact that it is not the Senate that originates the budget policy statement. It came from Treasury. It came from Treasury. And Honorable Speaker, it is the head of the executive who was speaking yesterday. By the way, yesterday's report that was expected yesterday was not to tell us your dreams and aspirations or the things that you want to do. You have only one more budget to be able to present as an executive. So where is this money coming from? The report yesterday was to tell us what you have done. We expected 450 billion in the 2025-2026 financial year. So you cannot come and tell us your stories. Number two, it is a fact, Honorable Speaker, that there is a report of a committee of this House, a report that has already been adopted by this House that says that we need to push it from the 420 proposed by Treasury to 450 billion. So when the head of state was speaking yesterday, he was giving us falsehoods, dreams, and other things. And yet our colleagues who sit in this House did not have the guts to be able to stand up.
Senator for Nairobi City County, your time is expended. No, I took care of the time that Senator Lekina intervened. You had your 3 minutes. Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi niweze kuchangia. Senator ambaye ni ya JSS ya Senator wa Tharaka Nithi Mwenda Gataya, ambaye ningeomba mambo ya elimu iweze kuangaliwa na njia ile inafaa ndio iweze kuwa mzuri. Mambo ya parapara, watoto wa JSS wakienda shule, mambo ya stima, shule zetu siwe na stima, pia mambo ya maji, shule zetu siwe na maji, pia mambo ya kompyuta, shule zote katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, kaunti zote 47 siwe na kompyuta. Pia Bwana Spika, nimehusunika sana kwa Senator wa Nairobi kwa yale mambo ameongea hapa kuhusu rais wa Kenya. Nilikuwa kifikiria angeongea vile tunaweza kumsaidia, vile governor wa Nairobi, vile drainage itatengenezwa na vile kamati itahundwa, vile watu watalipwa wale ambaye vitu yao imeenda na maji, na vile familia nyingi watu wengine wameaga dunia, vile wataweza kusaidiwa na serikali, na vile gari zingine zimeenda na boma nyingi imekuwa imewachwa na janga la njaa na mambo mengine. Kwa ile mambo anakuja kuongea hapa ni mambo ya aina njia, ni mambo ya kuongea kwa sababu hayuko kwa broad based, ndio unaona anapinga serikali hii ya muungano. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, nasema Senator wa Nairobi anafaa awe na akili timamu ndio aweze kuendelea njia ile inafaa, kwa sababu anafikia mambo ya timu moja. Hii haitasaidia ndio tuweze kuendelea njia ile inafaa. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make some brief comments on two very important statements. One statement is a statement by Senator Chute in terms of cultural rights and land use policies. Mr. Speaker, I'm a firm believer that if this Senate takes its time diligently and looks at the proposals that are brought here, we can be able to save our communities. The community of the Rendile, the Borana, these two communities, Mr. Speaker, needs the culture bill. And the reason why I say it needs the culture bill is because most of their land, which has been set aside as either grazing land during the drought or land which is preserved for cultural activities, is normally encroached by our own defense. And this is where they go in and propose to build the KDF. Mr. Speaker, I really plead with my colleagues here that we expedite and we bring amendments to the culture bill and set up transhumance routes or cultural corridors where the culture can be able to have veto powers and say, Mr. Government, you cannot come here and build an RDU center because this is a special zone for us. So, Mr. Speaker, it is important. I was in Marsabit a few years ago. I attended a cultural ceremony for the Rendile. And the place where they were holding that cultural right, they could not be able to hold it because the military were already in that area. So, Mr. Speaker, the statement raised by Senator Chute is very, very important. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the statement raised by the distinguished senator from Migori, Senator Eddie Okech, on the issue of AFC loans. It's a very, very good statement. However, it can also lead to misuse of public funds. It is imperative now that we are seeing a lot of farmers are complaining. I'm a farmer. And in most cases, we complain that there's a drought. The drought comes and it wipes out all our crops, or our own cows, livestock, they're all wiped out. But I think it is imperative that when AFC is giving out loans, as a prerequisite for being given a loan, you must have an insurance policy for that loan. That is the only way we are going to be able to solve this problem. But standing here and asking AFC to waive the loans, it is going to be putting us into a deeper hole financially. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to clarify one point which is very important. Because the distinguished senator of Nairobi stood here.
What is the point of order, Senator Eddie?
Mr. Speaker, it's just a point of order, but I hope that it also inform the senator. But it's a point of order. Mr. Speaker, AFC does waive loans for other crops.
Order is so disorderly.
It's disorderly for the senator of Narok to insinuate that AFC is not, that for the case of Migori farmers who have been affected, a waiver will be wrong for them when there are other crops, including coffee, that AFC loans are waived for, where there is calamity or where there is any vagary of nature that affects those other crops. Why is it that those other crops can be waived, and yet a member of this House want to say that it is wrong for a senator to ask where there has been a clear element of vagary of nature, like the drought that happened in Migori County between 2011 and 2014. Why is it that the senator of Narok is misleading the entire country that it will be a financial burden to AFC when it comes to the issue of Migori, and some farmers from Migori also come from Narok, because we are in the same border places. Why is it that it's wrong for farmers in Narok and Migori not to get waived for when AFC is waiving for coffee, farmers in other places, is waiving for tea in other places? What is this burden that Migori people will give the government of Kenya when they get waived for natural calamities, Mr. Speaker? Is it in order? Or that is not discriminatory?
Now, Senator Eddie, you've totally misunderstood your colleague. Yes. Proceed to conclude, Senator Allocation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, briefly, so I can conclude on this issue, to clarify the matter to my colleague, Senator Eddie. All I was saying is that we need discipline and we need to plan. When we make legislations here, we don't make them for today. We make them for perpetuity. So in this case, when we are giving out loans which are subsidized at a lower interest rate, as a prerequisite for getting that loan, I am only proposing that an insurance policy should be attached so that if that farmer loses their crops or their livestock, there's a shock absorber that can be able to allow that farmer to proceed. I am not saying that the farmers from Migori should not be compensated. I'm just saying that for uniformity. But we have to be sure that what we are doing for the country is that we are saving this country and not digging the financial hole deeper. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it is imperative that I clarify one issue. Mr. Speaker, just give me 30 seconds. The distinguished senator from Nairobi, when he was now giving his last sentence and walking away, continued
1 minute.
Continued misleading the nation. This House, it is true, this House does not originate the budget policy statement. The budget policy statement is only a document which is a policy direction for a government. But this House and the National Assembly is the one that determines the amount of money that remains in the national government and the amount of money that goes to the county government. So it is wrong to be able to take this podium where you are speaking on policy issues because of populism, to say that we senators, who are experienced senators, who understand legislation process, were sitting down and were being misled, which, contrary to that, the information which was being provided by the president was factual. If that information was wrong, I would have been the first one to say it is wrong. So, Mr. Speaker, let us separate issues. When you want populism, when you want to claim that you are popular, go to the street and do it. But when you are here, we remain serious and deal with matters that will build this nation.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to contribute to Senator Chute's statement. Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, currently the country is actually facing a serious drought. And as things are, pastoralists normally move across borders, trans-county and even the international borders, in search of pastures so they can save their animals. Where he has mentioned the Bayam is actually right at the border of Wajir and Marsabit. Honorable Speaker, the borehole is, Honorable Senator Speaker for Marsabit is saying, is within Wajir boundary. And for the RDU actually is the rapid response officers who normally moves from place to place to secure the country. And they don't stay in one place most times. Where the area he's talking about, the Bayam, actually, and part of it, and part of Wajir, has now become a transit for drugs. They come all the way from the other side of our neighboring countries. And most of these times, a lot of drugs have been moved now to Kenya. And these officers are stationed and they move from place to place to at least do surveillance and to at least control the drug movement to our country. And it's not that Wajir County has established those officers there. But one thing I want to say, I want to thank the people of Marsabit for their hospitality and for their kindness for accommodating the Wajir pastoralists. Because at times of drought, we run to their place because they have a better land for grazing and bigger land. And therefore, I have talked to my colleague, my counterpart, that will visit the area and at least will be able to sort out this problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Maruma.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to comment on the statement by Senator Eddie Okech Agisheru of Migori on Agricultural Finance Corporation, which gives loans to farmers who undertake agricultural activities. When the crops or the livestock fail, AFC should develop, if the policy is not there, to give insurance to the crops or the animals so that in case the crops fail due to vagaries of climate, then it is the insurance that should compensate or should waive the loans. If the policy is not there, that policy should really be developed. And on the side of the government, there should also be a policy to give at least minimum guaranteed returns to the farmers so that the farmers don't suffer losses. The other statement I would like to comment on is a statement by Senator Kinyua on the deterioration of Nyahururu, Rumuruti, A4 Road in Laikipia County. Mr. Speaker, sometimes the government earmarks roads for improvement or upgrading, whether to bitumen standards or otherwise, but then at times the budgets are not for.
Kwa undani, pengine wataketi chini. Ikiwa ninaweza kumwangalia
the county as counterpart funding for payment of stipend to CHPs. But the component of the county government is delayed. and they end up also delaying the national government component. So you find that CHPs are going for months without stipend. I think this is a matter that Senator Mandago, the chair of health, you need really to investigate and see what happens in these counties, because these particular individuals are suffering. And the most ironical thing is that they are the same people that the county government uses for politics. They are the ones who go to rallies to cheer county government and the leaders there. But they are not able to get their money in time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also allow me to comment on the statement by Senator for Laikipia, Senator John Kinyua, on the state of road, Nyahururu-Rumuruti Road, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a serious matter, because even in my own county, there is a road from Chavakali to Kapsabet, which has killed many people, including, Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, actually last week, we buried 3 students who were killed and a border person who was killed, because what Kenya has done, it has dug very deep trenches along the road. So, and the road is very narrow. So what happens when we have a vehicle coming from one side and another vehicle is coming from one other side? You have nowhere to escape to, Mr. Speaker. This road has killed many people. And Mr. Speaker, when Senator Sifuna talks about misinformation, I have something to talk about misinformation as well. Because this is the particular road which was listed among the 1,000-kilometer tarmac road that Kenya Kwanza government was supposed to construct in Western Kenya. In the MOU between Ford Kenya, ANC,
Senator Kisang William.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to commend the statement by Senator for Mikori on AFC. AFC, Honorable Speaker, from 1963 assisted so many farmers both to buy land and do farming. And in the past, I know it's been struggling, but it is, we are happy that it's been waiving for agricultural farmers. But our colleagues are saying the livestock farmers have not been assisted. Honorable Speaker, maybe the best way to do is what colleagues have said, that we need insurance for both crops and livestock. And before you even insure the livestock, we need a proper registration of the livestock, because if a farmer takes a loan because of the livestock they have, how do you know how many have died or how many are surviving? So it's important they do proper registration of all livestock, so that the insurance cover that will be taken either by the farmer or together with the AFC, that it will be easy to account for whatever that has been lost. Because I think this is what has been missing for a while. So proper registration of both livestock, the way we register farmers, we need to re-register also livestock for the farmers. Honorable Speaker, on CHPs, I thought it was only my county, because recently I got about CHPs complaining that they have not been paid for the last 3 months. So Kumba, this is something that's across. We need, Senator Mandako, please, as your committee, you need to invite the Council of Governors, we need, and the Minister of Health, because we believe the counterpart that is coming from national government reaches the counties, but they don't release regularly. You can imagine a stipend of 5,000, and you are not paid for 3 months. You are moving around to ensure that 2.5 by the county and 2.5 by national government. So in total it's 5,000, which is supposed to help them even to pay for a boda rider to move around, to check on basically basics, to assist our mothers. In fact, I was surprised by what Senator for Nairobi has said, Senator Edwin Sifuna, who is my member of the Energy Committee. He was the one who signed the 10-point agenda, and we expected him yesterday to come for the meeting to get a report. And he shies away from coming, and he comes here to misinform the nation. He should have been there to check 1, 2, 3, 4. Why was he checking remotely? He should have been there. He should have been there. I think he has gotten used to the habit of coming to the house, making a false statements or misinformation, and goes away, runs away because of TikTok. Yeah, I think he's used to, he's really making, I think he has gotten to that habit. You know, that's the problem of this young people. Yes, sir.
There's a point of order from Senator Ososi.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, you know this is a house of record. And even as members have been rising on a point of order, I also want to rise on a point of order 105. To inform my good friends, Senator Kisang, that to inform, yes, that the 10 points agenda was not signed by Senator Sifuna. The 10-point agenda was signed between President William Ruto and the late party leader Raila Amolo Odinga.
So
Sifuna only drafted the 10 points agenda, but the signatures were for the two principles. Mr. Speaker, that clarity has to come out very clearly.
Just a minute, Senator Ososi. Are you giving Senator Kisang information or is it a point of order? Because he has not accepted any information so far. I want to confirm whether he needs to be informed by you.
You know, I was rising on a point of order 105 as a statement of fact, which of course informs him as well, that the 10 points agenda was a document signed between the two principles, the principle of ODM and the principle of UDA. It was not signed by Senator Sifuna, and that is the lie that has been...
Senator Kisang, proceed and conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, what Senator Osotsi, my chair, said very clearly is that Senator Sifuna drafted. And anything that you drafted, even if your principal signed, you should have been there on behalf, because the principal passed on to confirm that the report is, we are getting is correct.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Very quickly on the statement by my friend and committee member, Senator for Laikipia, who works very hard for the people of Laikipia. I can guarantee you that it's a very good statement, and as a chair of transport and roads, despite the fact that you've got misgiving on the broad-based government, I'll prioritize that road, and I'll come and make sure that that road is dealt with the committee in Laikipia, even before I go for mine in Migori. I think that's what leadership requires. But very quickly, Senate, the statement by Senator Mungatana from Raila Veta. Mr. Speaker, I think this House should take the issue of CHPs as a crisis. The reason why it's a crisis, Mr. Speaker, every single time that I've seen Senator Boni Aluale, Senator Rabitha, Senator Eddie Okech, yours truly, Senator Ali Roba, go as members of Finance and Budget Committee to negotiate for proper additional revenue allocation to counties. What they have always fought for is monies that are non-discretionary to governors. Money that is already committed that must be paid. And one of the non-discretionary amount of money that we always send to counties is monies committed to CHPs. We have fought for this, Mr. Speaker. And governors have got no excuse whatsoever not to pay CHPs. Because it is money that we fight for in mediation. That is the basis for which money was added to governors to 415 billion in the last financial year. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you for a fact that this is factually true, that the national government has met its obligation, but the obligation by the county governments, they are not prioritizing paying these CHPs. I was in Migori County last week, Mr. Speaker, in Kuria East, to be specific, in Kegonga, and I met CHPs claiming that for the last 3 years, they have not been paid their money by the county government of Migori, Mr. Speaker. And these are people who suffer, like right now it is raining. They even don't have gumboots and equipment to even be able to support people who are sick in their families, Mr. Speaker. So this is something that as a House, Senator Mandago, who is the chair, must take seriously as a crisis. The COG to pay CHPs in Migori, in Taita Taveta, and all over the country where they have not been paid. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
With Senator Kinyua that road, he must also continue to support the government in the establishment of the national infrastructure.
That shouldn't be the end of the statement hour. Yes. Yeah.
The Agriculture Produce Minimum Order number 8, the Agriculture Produce Minimum Guarantee Returns Bill, Senate Bills number 17 of 2025, second reading. Mover to reply.
The mover is not around. I can see Senator Veronica Maina, so we defer that order. Next order.
Order number 9, the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bills number 12 of 2024, second reading, division.
Also, this one, we defer this business because of the, don't think we have numbers for the division. Next order.
Order number 10, the Public Audit Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 4 of 2024, second reading, resumption of debate.
I'm not sure whether there was a member on the floor. Senator Orekina, and a balance of 14 minutes. If he is allowed, he can utilize those 14 minutes. And if he is not, then we open the floor to other senators. Now I want to follow my list religiously. And the first on the list is Senator Karen Nyamu, under number 10. Who is ready for this? Senator Onyonka? Senator Mungatana Danson? Okay, sorry. Senator Maratian Ezena? Senator Mutinda Molin Tabitha? Order number 10. We have open debate on order number 10. So I'm following this list on my screen. Senator Okech Endi Gichel.
Like Senator Mutabitha has taken the mic away from me. But I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker, that I think she shows the fiercefulness of your face and then dashed away. So I'm safe. Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very important bill that I hope that the members of this House, apart from just contributing on the significance of this bill, including the far-reaching effect it has in restructuring and reorganizing the Office of the Auditor General and giving the Office of the Auditor General some leverage to be able to have some teeth in terms of action that they can be able to take. Mr. Speaker, some of the variable experiences that we have had in the course of audit in the committees that we have watchdog committees in the Senate should actually look at how we can be able to backdrop, Mr. Speaker, of the contention between the Senate and the COG. Of course, recognizing that the COG is a corporate body that has got no constitutional basis, so that if the governors want to insist that they will not come and answer audit queries, Mr. Speaker, to the House, because this is the House that makes laws, I want, first of all, to invite you as a Senate to look at Article 229 of the Constitution. And Article 9 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, says that there shall be an Office of the Auditor General, which is what, these queries don't die. The queries don't die. They never perish. Once a certificate has been issued by the Auditor General, they never perish. Once a certificate has been issued by the Auditor General, whether it's an adverse opinion certificate, whether it's a disclaimer of opinion, whether it's a simple qualified opinion by the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. Once those audit queries have been brought, they don't die. We're in a dilemma, Mr. Speaker, where we need to give life to this article of the Constitution, where we are seeing impunity, especially by governors, where they have started something that as Council of Governors, they can sit somewhere and decide as a jamboree that they can appear or not appear to committees of parliament to answer audit query questions. Mr. Speaker, what does this House do? An amendment that can give life to this particular article in this particular bill so that we can be able to compel governors, even post leaving their office. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at Article 125 of the Constitution, it does say that this House and its committees have got the power equal to the Supreme Court to invite anybody, anytime, to bring evidence, to bring information, and to look at Article 125 of the Constitution. It does say that this House and its committees have got the power equal to the Supreme Court to invite anybody, anytime, to bring evidence, to bring information, and to answer any queries, such as audit queries that we see in this country, Mr. Speaker. So where the governors cannot be able to actually come and answer questions because they have chosen not to, can we amend, Mr. Speaker, part of this bill to insist that audit queries will just be as alive as possible, even at a time, Mr. Speaker, when the audit cycle has passed? Because what these governors are doing, Mr. Speaker, what I've seen in the in CPIC, is that a governor chooses, like today we had the governor of Samburu. We almost had a banter among ourselves as senators. The governor of Samburu appears before me, Mr. Speaker, today, on a disclaimer of opinion. Where there is water service provided for, a number of variances cannot be accounted for because the officers in Samburu County did not submit their documents to the Auditor General. They just refused to submit their documents. Then the governors appear before our committee today, Mr. Speaker, and when I asked the governor, can we go through this audit report? The governor says, I came with my officers who are in charge of that WSP, but they have disappeared in Nairobi. They have disappeared in Nairobi. Even as the courage, Mr. Speaker, of speaking before the committee of the Senate, that even the documents we're supposed to give you here are still being printed in Ngara. They are printed some 5, they are printed some 19. And then I asked the governor, are these your officers? Did they live with the money of the people of Samburu? To live all the way to Samburu and come to this place and account for the money of people of Samburu? How did he give them the money to live? All the funds of their officers are off. Do you know why he's doing this, Mr. Speaker? Yes.
Vice Chair, CPAC.
Yes.
County Public Investment, CPIC, Investments Committee.
Yes.
If you look at our standing orders, standing order 100, and your committee has not brought in a report to this House. So that the matter is active in your committee, standing order 100 prohibits you from discussing that matter now until you bring the report to the House, to the Senate, and then you can move it and then we discuss. So you can proceed with your contribution, but stop discussing that matter you are handling with your committee.
Come so that the audit cycle passes. So for instance, Mr. Speaker, you have guided us. You yourself have guided us that there's a law, that there's a ruling of the court that said that we must finish to look at all these audited reports by 3 months after they have been brought to this House. And I was just giving you an example of where a governor can be mischievous so that the 3-month cycles pass without them appearing before the House, so that audit query might never be asked. And I was giving just an example of adversity that I'm seeing in Samburu of that kind of classical case. So then, in that case, what do we do in this Public Audit Act? Dear senators, what do we do? The audit cycle has passed. The governor has used some machination to make sure that they don't appear. And now that cycle has passed. And that's why I'm saying that Article 229 of the Constitution gives breath that audit matters are live matters that never die. So we need to put in this bill one of the clauses that we must put in, and I'll draft the amendment, Mr. Speaker, that even when we have considered your audited report and submitted them in this House, those books are not closed if we do not deal with some of these substantive issues so that we give justice to the people of Kenya. The second issue, Mr. Speaker, that we have seen categorically in the committees that I'm in, Mr. Speaker, the section of the Mother Act, section 62 of the Mother Act, talks about the issue around offenses that are dealing with audit issues. So the offense there is when any public officer does not issue or does not give information to auditors, or even give late documentation to auditors, because the auditors, Mr. Speaker, have got 7 meetings that they have with the clients when they go to these public institutions. They have got 7 audit meetings. But then, despite having those audit meetings, our experience, particularly with governors, Mr. Speaker, is that they don't give documents that are required, they don't give financial statements, they don't give documentation that support financial statements, and therefore, the auditors cannot be able to make sense of some of these audited documents, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted to suggest, Mr. Speaker, that we give more life to Section 62 of the Public Audit Act, Mr. Speaker. Because the only thing that is there is a prescription of what penalties, first of all, what offenses they are and what penalties must be given. It says that those who do not give their breach of law, they did not submit their documents. They did not submit their documents. They did not give sufficient information, or they just refused. To appear during audit cycle. We just Senate there was to appear during audit cycle. We just Senate there was a breach of law. That's not enough, Mr. Speaker. The governors are getting qualification because you have just said that they are breach of the law. So what? If they are in the breach of the law, there has to be. If they are in the breach of the law, there has to be an amendment of that section of this Public Audit Act that prescriptively gives the audit and watchdog committees of Parliament the power to take action. Because committees of Parliament, the power to take action. Because sometimes, Mr. Speaker, and then we have got COB, and then we have got the National Treasury, the only action they can be able to take access to funds. Or EACC takes them. So whether EACC gets compromised along the way, we cannot tell. Exploitation of this particular section of the law that's supposed to be enforced and appealed, Mr. Speaker, that I hope that this Senate will take a very critical look into, so that when audit queries, it becomes a doctrine of report, and then, Mr. Speaker, we cannot be able to make sense of how we will be able to recover funds, Mr. Speaker. Another element of this bill that I thought that was very important, Mr. Speaker, this bill is the first bill that tends to actually hold individuals to account, Mr. Speaker, particular officers who might have violated the laws of the Public Audit Act, Mr. Speaker. Particular institutions are so many, Mr. Speaker, that you cannot be able to bring. But there are glaring role whatsoever in these companies. Number one, the officers of that company never complained. They never complained. 25 million, Mr. Speaker, in question. Did not complain. They still worked. But when you looked at the commercial losses of the water company, Mr. Speaker, they are almost 53% than revenue water that is not accounted for. So you can start seeing that there is indeed a correlation between non-reception of their salaries and the high non-revenue water in those counties. Because most likely there is water that is being given to people, but they are taking that money away, and most likely that money is more than what they should be earning as employees of that company. So when you get to that kind of situation, Mr. Speaker, yet the Auditor General had closed the certificate, how do you deal with it? I think it will need a special audit so that you can be able to go and audit that kind of firm. But our laws currently, Mr. Speaker, have got no the proper architecture for special audit. And the reason is simple, Mr. Speaker, because out of the 12,000 entities that the Auditor General is considering, they have a limited budget. So that once they close a certificate, financing a special audit, a forensic audit on some of these issues becomes a very difficult issue, Mr. Speaker. I think this is an opportunity to look at this bill and be able to introduce an amendment that will be able to give the Auditor General capacity to go and do forensic audits where the committees of parliament have got no doubt whatsoever that there could be a malicious thing that is happening on corruption. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, what I think that would be important for this bill to look up, because most of the classes that are here, Mr. Speaker, are really self-explanatory, Mr. Speaker. I'm just looking at opportunities for us to be able to add on what will make Parliament more effective, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must have an audit function that can allow this House of Parliament, and I know this one is controversial because there's a broad-based arrangement, Mr. Speaker. We must allow this House to have a bird's eye view position on the issue of debt in this country, Mr. Speaker. We cannot have a country, Mr. Speaker, where 3 institutions that are critical to debt management in our country, Mr. Speaker, and especially the Auditor General, cannot be able to have clarity on what is our debt stock. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you look at what the Auditor General has been telling us about our debt stock, it is almost difficult to harmonize what the National Treasury is saying, what the CBK is saying about our national debt, and what Auditor General is saying about our national debt, Mr. Speaker. It means that there's a small audit function that is critical that we must be able to put exclusively on the national debt management in this country, Mr. Speaker. How comes that the Auditor General, every time that the Auditor General is asked, the debt stock oscillates a number lower than the physical manager, who is the treasury of this country, who gives us the debt stock according to the National Treasury. And even National Treasury, Mr. Speaker, has got a different debt stock with the CBK. For instance, the BPS that my brother Olekina was discussing together with my brother Senator Sifuna of Nairobi. That BPS, Mr. Speaker, that was brought to us here, puts our national debt stock around 12 trillion. Yet, if you look at the data from the Treasury, when they appear before us in finance and budget, my sister Tabitha, Senator Tabitha, will tell you they are putting it almost a trillion less than the CBK. And then the Auditor General wants to put that debt at 10.58 trillion, almost 1.5 trillion less than the 2 institutions that we have, Mr. Speaker. How then do you manage the debt that is soaring in this country, Mr. Speaker? There has to be an autonomous section of the law in this Public Audit Act that is solely looking at our debt architecture, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that it's not skyrocketing in a way that is not sustainable, Mr. Speaker. I think if we can be able to improve on those 4 areas, Mr. Speaker, we can be able to improve on the issue of public finance, wastage of resources, as well as the overarching issue that we see, especially in our counties, that make it impossible, totally impossible, to hold stakeholders within counties accountable. Those stakeholders start with the governors, they go to accounting officers, the CECs, they go to approvers in the in the county treasuries, and, Mr. Speaker, more importantly, they even end up going to the accountants in counties, Mr. Speaker. Some of these accountants, Mr. Speaker, in what we look at as CPIC, Mr. Speaker, we find invariable issues of simple lack of professionalism, Mr. Speaker. I know PFM tend to hold people accountable in some way on issues as simple as financial misconduct, where there is no proper documentation, there is no proper record keeping by these officers, Mr. Speaker. But I think, Mr. Speaker, there's an opportunity in this particular bill to even being able to correct for the rot of accountants who are not able to work with the auditors to be able to harmonize simple variances, inaccuracies in financial statements, Mr. Speaker. That to the extent that you find that some of these accountants, Mr. Speaker, are not even in good standing with this accountant institute is called what? Is ISPAC. They're not in good accounting standards, Mr. Speaker. And I think that this bill can be able to hold them accountable as individuals, even before you think about the governor. So that once this bill passes, all those people are held accountable, Mr. Speaker. With that, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to talk much because I'm seeing my brother, Senator Lekina, whose time probably was cut, or maybe he had gone to take tea or take some notes. He's back in the house, and I want to be fair that anybody else can be able to also contribute in this bill. I totally support this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that those amendments that I've talked to, I'll work with the drafters to make sure that we bring them to the House so that they can give meat to this bill. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Unfortunately, you have overshot your time. The system did not even DRS. So you have not done any favor to the members who are left waiting. Senator Rekina, you know, Standing Order 36 is very explicit on what happens on your case. But with the reasons that you have given to the chair, I will use the Standing Order number 1 brightly to allow you to spend the 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a bill that I really hold with a lot of regards in regards to accountability in this country. Mr. Speaker, as I continue with my submissions on my reservations on the amendments being proposed on this bill, allow me to demystify the challenges ahead that will be able to follow if we amend this bill the way it is being proposed. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Article 229 of the Constitution, it is very clear. It sets the rules or the powers of the Auditor General. When we introduce, Mr. Speaker, Audit Advisory Board, and we give it the powers, and I want to go on record to clearly state why I'm concerned about the amendments being proposed. And I wish that my colleagues will listen to me. Because I've come of age in terms of legislation in this country. And I understand the importance of making laws that will protect me today when I'm in power and tomorrow when I'm not in power. Mr. Speaker, the issue of accountability in this country should not be carried out on a term basis. It should be dealt with in perpetuity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we transfer, this bill is proposing to transfer key audit functions, decisions, from the Auditor General to the Audit Advisory Board. The areas that is seeking to transfer is one, on the scope of audit. The current Public Audit Act, Section 31, clearly stipulates on the definition of the scope of audit, where it is a process which is outlined. It starts with an entry meeting, then the manager and the auditors define the scope of audit. Following that, when the audit has been carried out, there's an exit interview. The only thing that I would support there is now ensuring that key officers in the accounting department take responsibility for failure to adhere to the audit recommendation. But the other thing that I completely detest is now saying investigations, the scope of audit shall be determined by the advisory board. Mr. Speaker, that is retrogressive in my view. We should not limit the powers of the Auditor General. And in, Mr. Speaker, if you look at Section 9 of this bill, and those are the sections that I would be seeking to further amend and retain the powers with the Auditor General. Why are we so quick to make decisions that will bite us tomorrow? Why do we keep changing laws to suit our position? Section 9, Mr. Speaker, takes the power away from the Auditor General and give it to an advisory board. It is wrong, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to seek support from both sides of the aisle in really ensuring a fiduciary responsibility and allowing us to be checked, allowing the Auditor General to be the one to check government. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all talking about fighting corruption. If we mean we are fighting corruption, then let's leave the powers that the Constitution has given to the Auditor General with the Auditor General. In fact, the only thing that the only powers that we should give the Audit Advisory Board is just the power on policy direction, things that do not take the power away from the Auditor General. Issues to do with scope, investigation, must be left with the Auditor General. The only thing that I support in this bill, Mr. Speaker, is the decision to now introduce suo motu approach, whereby the Auditor General can engage directly with EACC, with DPP, in terms of carrying out an investigation. But even then, the Auditor General will have to be left to rely on the decision of the Audit Advisory Board. Let's do away with this retrogressive policy direction. Let us focus on policies that will change this country into the first world country that we are all craving to get. Mr. Speaker, the way this bill has been, the amendments, the way they have been produced or proposed, is now to give the veto powers of decisions made. Hypothetically, and I'll try to demystify this, the Auditor General renders her opinion. And then the Advisory Board comes and veto and says this is not the right way. Let's do away with that. If you look at Section 9 of this bill, Mr. Speaker, I read through this bill overnight, and I've been going through it over and over and over. If you read the amendments, and I'm just going to read them. It says Section 9 of, this is the amendment to Section 11 of CAP. Mr. Speaker, my eyes are not seeing very well, so let me try and, the faint is, I'm getting old. My eyes are getting old, I think. I'm still very young. Section 9 of the Principal Act is amended by deleting Section 1, subsection 1 of the substituting thereof, and substituting thereof the following new subsection. The position of the Auditor General shall become vacant upon expiry of the Auditor General terms if the Auditor General dies, where a notice in writing addressed to the President, the Auditor General resigns. If the Auditor General is removed from office under any of the... No, that's not the part I wanted to read. Let me go back to the section that I wanted. One second, Mr. Speaker. Let me refer back to Mr. Speaker, just allow me. I think I've been reading too much. I know my time is moving, but I've just misplaced my notes, Mr. Speaker. But I just want to summarize by stating the fact that I am not for the amendments which are being proposed, because I see danger ahead, Mr. Speaker. One, and I will list them down. Number one, we need to retain the power that the Auditor General has. We need to limit the role of the Advisory Board. We need to allow the auditor to define the scope of audit, to define the terms of the investigation. I support the idea that now the auditor can move ahead and address, before it comes to Parliament, the auditor can proceed and engage EACC, can proceed and engage the DPP to be able to carry out investigation where the auditor feels like there has been some misappropriation of funds. And most importantly, Mr. Speaker, let us not audit. Let us not weaken oversight. When we weaken oversight, Mr. Speaker, by introducing this audit advisory board, corrupt governors, corrupt officials will now go in and sit down with this advisory board, decides that instead of me, spending my money everywhere, let me put my money on these few people so that I can be able to ensure that when they come and audit the use of funds in my county or in my state department or whatever, they can only be limited to this scope. We will not be doing the future generation any service, Mr. Speaker. In fact, we will be retrogressing, we will be widening the gap between the rich and the poor wider, and we will be doing it legally. One of the biggest problems, Mr. Speaker, that we have in this world today is that a lot of things which are being done by big people, they are being done following the rule of law. Because weak parliaments sit down, we clap, we don't read through legislation. Just because we support different policies, we don't ask ourselves hard questions about tomorrow. When we are not empowered tomorrow, what will happen to that piece of legislation? It will come and haunt us. We might clap for it now, we might be very, very happy that this thing is going to happen. But when the people of my county of Narok are not getting services, because now the governor or anybody else has been able to sit down with an advisory committee and told them that just audit these and not the rest, the people, the tears that those people have, Mr. Speaker, will haunt me, even in my grave. So, Mr. Speaker, with my clear conscience, I would like to reserve my position of not supporting this bill, and I would want to suggest that we look at amending the amendments which were brought by the National Assembly and put some sense into this. In fact, if I were to be asked, what's the point of having the Audit Advisory Board? What is the point of having that? Instead of finding a way that the Controller of Budget, the Auditor General, the investigating agencies, the Senate, and other oversight bodies can be able to work together and entrench that into these new amendments, we are now bringing another layer. And remember, that advisory board will also have to be paid, Mr. Speaker. So any piece of legislation that we come up with must be one that saves the country money, not one that continues to burden the taxpayers. These amendments, Mr. Speaker, and I welcome everyone to go and look and read through them. These amendments will overburden the taxpayers, number one. These amendments will make oversight very weak. These amendments will introduce political interference in the audit process. These amendments will literally make an Auditor General another just civil servant. They will not get any power. It is good for us to align the amendments that we made in the PFM Act with the Public Audit Act, but we retain the powers of the Auditor General as per Article 229 of the Constitution. That is the only way that we are going to be progressive as a nation, and that is the only way that will ensure a fiduciary responsibility, and that is the only way, Mr. Speaker, we will be able to support our institutions. Let us support institutions. Let us give them the powers that they want. Finally, Mr. Speaker, there was the issue of which everyone was clapping and saying, this is fantastic, this is very good. The issue of the Public Audit Fund. Yes, but leaving it the mercy of members of the National Assembly, it is going to be very difficult, Mr. Speaker. I think what we should be doing is to enhance the percentage that will be drawn from the consolidated fund to fund that public audit fund. From the 0.2%, let us increase it to, let's say, 3% and make it very, in fact, will save us a lot of money. We'll save this country a lot of money. But we should not leave everything to have all these layers of approvals. Recently what happened, Mr. Speaker, and I don't want to mention, when it comes to the issue of the CDF, we know what happened in Mombasa. And of course, I don't want to mention that. But when your pocket is lined, then you will be inclined to support a particular position. If the auditor, if we now support and say we have this audit advisory board, and it moves on and it defines the scope of audit, if tomorrow money is misappropriated and we just clap our hands and we say thank you, and we have taken away the independence of the auditor, it is our children who will cry, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to stop there, but remind us of our duty as legislators, that we are here to ensure that we promote legislations for future generations, but not legislations to support the time when we're in office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, Senator Ososi Ngonfrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first of all, I'll start by saying that this is a very, very important piece of legislation, and this is one of those legislation that I want to request colleagues to pay a lot of attention, because many of the problems are going to be to a large extent sorted out. Especially at this moment of time when Kenyans expect that their money will be used well, their money will be used for the intended purpose, and their money will actually have value for money. So these amendments, I want to say that I have looked at them. There are some which I support, but there are some which I think it will need to be reinforced and amended so that we give strength and independence to the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, about 3 months ago, I visited, together with my members of the committee, I visited the equivalent of the Auditor General in Morocco, and I was amazed with the system of audit in that country. The system of audit in that country is based on the French model, which basically has a judicial component to it. They call their audit the court of accounts, where you appear, entities appear before a judge, they present their reports, and a decision is made there and there. If you have misappropriated money, a decision to take action on you is made there and there. And then later on, the Court of Accounts will now do a report to the legislature. Parliament. And the Parliament now, if there is any issue they want to follow up, they will be able to follow up in that report. That is the French model. The Kenyan audit process is based on the Westminster model, where the Auditor General conducts audit and then presents a report to Parliament, and then Parliament will do examination, witnesses will appear before it. The trouble with this Westminster system, Mr. Speaker, is that once Parliament gives the report, someone else is supposed to implement those recommendations. And usually they don't implement those recommendations, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, an example is the recommendations that have been made by oversight committees of this House, the CPAC and CPIC, on matters of misuse of office, misuse of public funds, and they have recommended many times that these individuals be investigated and prosecuted. But Mr. Speaker, the EACC and ODPP have not been taking any action, Mr. Speaker. So whereas Senate is doing its job to make recommendations, the independent offices that are supposed to take action have been sleeping on the job for many reasons, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, you find that now this system of audit is not yielding fruits. I think maybe we need to consider the South African model, which has both the French model and the Westminster model, so that we are able to deal with the challenges that we have in terms of audit. Mr. Speaker, the Office of the Auditor General is an important office in this country, but this office has been undermined through budgetary allocations. This office has been undermined on many cases that they do not get the money they deserve to get. The staff who work in the Office of the Auditor General are not properly remunerated. Their welfare is not looked into. And the office itself, they have challenges, capacity challenges, Mr. Speaker. And this is an office that processes 12,000 reports every year. 12,000 reports every year, Mr. Speaker. If you were to do daily, it means you will be doing between 40 to 50 reports a day. And those reports are supposed to be signed by one person called the Auditor General. So she's supposed to go through all the reports, 40 to 50 reports in a day, and sign them. This is impossible, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that one of the recommendations that has been proposed in this report is recommending that the budget making process be improved. Under clause, I think it's clause 15, no, clause 17, where they are talking about in the event that the Auditor General finds out that there is the amount proposed as budget to her office is insufficient, then she can do a special report to both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. The trouble with these amendments, which I think I will be seeking to improve it, is that what happens after submission of special report? That is one thing that we need to see how to amend it so that we can help that office. In the event National Assembly does not appropriate enough money to the Office of the Auditor General, what do we do? The amendment has been proposed, but the action is not very clear. But the other thing, Mr. Speaker, is that now, I know Senator Umtata has a case on this matter, the implementation of Article 249 of the Constitution, which requires that Senate and the National Assembly jointly process budgets for constitutional offices. Now, these amendments has been brought in here. That means that this Senate will play a big role in ensuring that the budgets of the constitutional offices, starting with this OAG, will now be processed by the Senate. So in a way, this will enhance the capacity of the Office of the Auditor General and consequently the independence of the Office of the Auditor General. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to commend the Auditor General, Nancy, Dr. Nancy. This lady has done a wonderful job. Under the circumstances, under budget constraints, she has done a wonderful job. And I was surprised the other day when a senior person in this country was calling her names. It is very unfair that the women of this country who are given a chance, like Dr. Nancy, and are doing a good job, a senior leader in this country is talking ill about them. So I want to encourage Dr. Nancy to continue doing the good job she's doing. Mr. Speaker, when Dr. Nancy says 50 billion of share money has been stolen, and the evidence is there, what is wrong in saying that? I have looked at this bill, and I think this bill is going to strengthen that office of the Auditor General. But as I said, there are some provisions that needs to be strengthened to make her better. Mr. Speaker, the other very fundamental amendments in this bill is the establishment of the Public Service HR Audit Directorate. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me, wage bill is a chronic problem in all our counties and even national government. We have ghost workers. We have people who are employed and they are not performing their roles, Mr. Speaker. Now, with this directorate, the Auditor General will be able to audit the staff establishment in our institutions, in our counties, and that is where the bulk of the money, Mr. Speaker, is taken away. So this is a very fundamental amendment, and these amendments will go a long way in strengthening the audit process in this country, and in also ensuring there is no more wastage of public funds through HR fraud, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill also proposes to remove in the current bill, I think section 12 of the current act, which provides for an acting OAG. Mr. Speaker, you know the mischief around acting positions. And this acting OAG the current act is the principal assistant to the Auditor General. We do not want to have a scenario where for mischief purposes, the Auditor General is removed from office, and the one who comes in is the acting OAG, who is not able to make some decision. So this bill proposes to repeal Section 12 of the current act to remove the provision of having an acting OAG and instead have the senior deputy auditor general will be the substantive principal assistants. Mr. Speaker, but I know there are currently the structure of OAG. We have several senior deputies to the OAG. I don't know what is going to happen to the current status. Maybe this is one of the areas that I would propose that we look at it keenly and possibly have amendments so that this bill does not distort the current structure that is there of having multiple deputies to the Auditor General. And I will also propose that maybe to help the Auditor General, who in the current act is supposed to sign all the audit report, we could give powers that to the senior deputy auditor general to help the auditor in signing some of these reports, but under direction of OAG. Mr. Speaker, the other very fundamental amendments which I think will improve the independence of the Office of the Auditor General is repealing of Section 18 of the current act, which provides for secondment of staff. Mr. Speaker, secondment of staff to an independent office is something that we should not encourage. The current bill provides for the secondment of staff, the current act, provides for the secondment of staff. This provision now is being removed so that the Auditor General will have powers to hire. In fact, there is also a provision in this bill that says the Public Service Commission will be involved in the recruitment of staff. That act section is being removed so that the Office of the Auditor General will conduct competitive recruitment without having to go through the Public Service Commission. I know Senator Ledama has talked about the Audit Advisory Board. The Audit Advisory Board, Mr. Speaker, the idea around this is that this is just an advisory body to help the Auditor General perform her duties. And she's a member of that board, Mr. Speaker, and 2 other members. It is not meant to weaken the powers of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, I also am also excited about the power for the Auditor General to access information from private entities, particularly those entities that have done business with public entities and they have been involved in some fraud. Now the Auditor General will have the powers to access that information. Mr. Speaker, let me also talk about Article 229, which says that upon gazette or publication or tabling of document before the House, the oversight committees have 3 months to examine and take appropriate action on those reports. Mr. Speaker, this section, you know, the High Court issued a ruling and said that we must adhere to it. We appealed, we lost the appeal. Now our committees are struggling to adhere to that rule. But our governors are letting us down, Mr. Speaker, by not appearing before PAC and PIC. And I think, Mr. Speaker, this is designed to ensure that the 31st March deadline approaches and then they eventually don't turn up. Mr. Speaker, there is a ruling of the court, I think in 2019, that said that audit queries do not die. They remain there forever. I think somewhere in this bill, we need to amend and say the audit queries should not die. Article 229 is there, yes, but audit queries cannot be allowed to die. Because if we allow it to go that way, we will have a situation where some of these rogue governors will completely refuse to come before the House. I am also pleading with this House to also amend this Public Audit Act and deal with the major problem we have been having in the audit process. The issue of late submission of documents. We have a scenario where, Mr. Speaker, that during the audit process, the entities do not submit the documents required to the auditor. And then they do exit meeting, the Auditor General does his report, issues a certificate for the report, and then just before they appear before Senate, volumes of documents surface. Some of those documents are fake, Mr. Speaker. And then they come before us, they tell us now we have documents here. Senators are not auditors. They are not document examiners. I want to propose, and I wish the members of this House will support my amendment, that we amend the Public Audit Act to say that any late submission of documents will not be considered by parliamentary oversight committees, because they should have been considered during the audit process. Why bring them when you come to the Senate? That has always been a major problem. And I think that is where we have challenges in as far as examination of audit report by this House is concerned.
Keep keen on the lights, yeah? Because you see that the other members who are still waiting. No, just 1 minute. 1 minute is enough. As you conclude. Just one, I said 1 minute, as you requested.
Mr. Speaker, another very fundamental amendment is the functions of the Auditor General. You know, in the current Act, under Section 7, it provides that the auditor will satisfy himself or herself the public resources have been applied or used well. Mr. Speaker, or used for the intended purpose. Mr. Speaker, the resources can be used for intended purpose, but they can be misrepresented, they can be misappropriated, or they can be expensive. But this bill amends that section to say that they should be economic value, they should be efficiency, they should be effectiveness, transparency, and sustainability in the use of public resources. I think that's a very important amendment.
Senator Koiti Andrew.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this bill. And my reading of the Constitution, Article 109, Clause
One is one I would like to read out, because it's the only time that we have. It says, Parliament shall exercise its legislative power through bills passed by Parliament and assented to by the President. And in fact, from my time, the time I've spent sitting in this House, Mr. Speaker, I've come to the conclusion that the only power Parliament has that really matters is the power to make law. All these other things we do, reports, statements, motions, seem to have no life because they end up nowhere. There's no mechanism for enforcing them. But when we enact a law, it's a self-enforcing mechanism. And so an opportunity like this for me is very important, and I thank you for having given me a chance. And I hope my fellow senators will also realize that the only time we have teeth to bite is when we legislate, not only when we pass all these other things. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill is very important. And for me, it addresses a number of issues that are critical for us. And I want to begin by congratulating the drafters for having thought of amending the Public Audit Act after having tested the Constitution for so long. But I would like to remind that Article 229 of the Constitution cannot be amended through ordinary legislation. And so the attempt to claw away the power of the Auditor General, who is an independent office, is one that we should resist. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin with definitions. And one of the things that caught my eye, that's under Section 2 of this Act, is the provision at Clause C, whereby the Principal Act is amended by deleting the definition of the word effectiveness and substituting, therefore, the following new definition. Effectiveness means the extent to which a program attained or is expected to attain its objective, efficiency, objectives, efficiency in a sustainable manner. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the import of the word effectiveness, you need to go to Article 229 of the Constitution, Clause 6, which I may read out. It states, an audit report shall confirm whether or not public money has been applied lawfully and in an effective way. Now, basically, lawfully is in accordance with the Constitution. In an effective way should be value for money. When we come up with a definition that is vague, that moves away from the understanding of value for money, we would like to see audit reports telling us whether there was value for money or not. And we come to a definition that says the extent to which a program attained or is expected to attain its objectives, efficiency in a sustainable manner. We are trying to mischaracterize the word effective that's used in the Constitution and to make it possible for the Auditor General to engage in a rather like he's dealing with plasticine, like he's dealing with clay, soft plasticine that he can just mold in any other way. Let us keep these words exact. Effectiveness, effective manner, when we are dealing with money, is value for money, And I would like that definition to reflect that meaning more than what is being done here. I've also looked at another definition, which is this time is very good. Public money, the definition of public money is a very good definition, and better for me is the definition of public resources. And the public resources are expanded to include state compensated time. That's an area that we lose a lot of public resources. You will go to hospitals, you will find doctors who are on a salary are not at their desks, they are in their clinics during office hours. You go to very many of public offices, you'll find that public officers are doing their private business, they are not at their place of work. So if we are now defining state compensated time as a state resource, we should go further and make sure that we create mechanisms of the Auditor General being able to audit the use of this resource in the counties and in the national government. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've also seen another good thing in this act, which is in Section 9 of the Act, which amends Section 11 of the old Act, by providing a mechanism for initiating the recruitment of a new Auditor General before the exit of the presiding Auditor General. We remember the quagmire we got into when Dr. Oko left office, and we did not have an Auditor General for a long time, and the audit reports could not be signed, and all that backlog that came with that. I think this is a good development that we are requiring by law that a new Auditor General, except in the circumstances where an Auditor General maybe dies abruptly or resigns or stuff. But when it's known that the term of the Auditor General is coming to an end, it only makes sense that we should be able to initiate a recruitment process in good time. Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks to retain the office of the Deputy Auditor General. When I look at Article 229, we don't see the office of the Deputy Auditor General created. I would have expected the amendment to do away with that office, because where the Constitution anticipates a deputy office holder, it creates that deputy. I don't think Parliament has the capacity to create deputies where the Constitution does not anticipate one, create one, or anticipate one. We have got a deputy IG for the police, the two deputy IGs for police clearly created. You have got the deputy CJ, you have got the deputy president, you have got the deputy governor. These extra deputies that are being created in legislation, to me, have got no feet to stand on. The Auditor General is an independent office. How can he be deputized? Maybe an assistant or whatever, an officer, but to have a Deputy Auditor General, to me, is something I'm not understanding how it comes about. I would have expected the bill to cure that anomaly, but instead it's just reforming the office. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy about the amendment by Section 17 of this Act to Section 20 of the Principal Act in terms of the budget of the Office of the Auditor General. There is a nominal recognition of the import of Article 249, Clause 3, which I may, with your permission, read to the House. 249 clause 3, which as the gentleman from Vihiga clearly noted, I'm litigating in court. Article 249 clause 3 states, Mr. Speaker, Parliament shall allocate adequate funds to enable each commission and independent office to perform its functions, and the budget of each commission and independent office shall be a separate vote. Usually the idea of the budget being handled by the National Assembly alone violates that provision, especially when we understand that the budget making process we have got a single budget making process under Article 221 of the Constitution, where the budgets of the executive, which brings along the budgets of the independent officers and the commissions, and the budgets of the Judicial Service Commission, of the judiciary, through the Judicial Service Commission, and the budget of Parliament through the Parliamentary Service Commission are considered, requires the involvement of the Senate. If we have to be faithful to the bicameral nature of Article 249, Clause 3. When you look at Article 93, Mr. Speaker, it establishes Parliament, a bicameral Parliament. And where this Constitution anticipates a single house to handle an issue, like for the impeachment of the President and the Deputy President, of the President in Article 145 and I think the Deputy President in Article 150, it expressly states that the Senate shall do ABCD. The Senate shall do ABCD. Where it anticipates the National Assembly alone to carry out a function, like in passing a vote of no confidence, not an impeachment, but a vote of no confidence in a cabinet secretary. It gives the cabinet, it gives the National Assembly the authority to pass that vote of no confidence to remove a cabinet secretary. We don't impeach them. Mr. Speaker, so Article 249 Clause 3 is a very important article in terms of the budgetary powers of this House. We are supposed to ensure that independent commissions, and constitutional commissions and independent offices have adequate budgetary allocations. We cannot do that by being excluded from the budget making process under Article 221 of the Constitution. And so, I like the section 17, Clause 4, which says, if the expenditure provided under the subsection 3 of this section are, in the opinion of the Auditor General, insufficient to allow the Office of the Auditor General to properly carry out its mandate, the Auditor General shall submit to the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Senate a special report to be perused, to be presented to the committee responsible for matters related to the budget and appropriation. Now, Mr. Speaker, there's an error in that construction, because we have, each house has got a speaker. We have got a Speaker of the Senate and a Speaker of the National Assembly. There's no Speaker of the National Assembly and the Senate. So we'll expect that the phraseology will be edited so that we can clearly have it read the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate. Otherwise, the National Assembly might misinterpret that and say their Speaker is the one who receives the report, and therefore the Senate has no role to play. So it would be good to clearly state that the report, the grievance by the Auditor General is presented to the speakers of the two houses independently. I would request that that should be considered. Mr. Speaker, question of submission of documents, the gentleman from Migori and the gentleman from Vihiga have talked of late submission of documents. From where I come from and my reading of the Constitution, Article 229.4, the Auditor General, which I may read to the House, 229.4 says, within 6 months after the end of each financial year, the Auditor General shall audit and report in respect of the financial year. So the Auditor General has only 6 months within which to report. The question of missing documents, unanswered queries and whatever should not be entertained. That's the room through which we lose track of what has been lost. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, when you look at all the audit reports that we get, I'm yet to see an audit report that meets the threshold in Article 229, Clause 6, that says an audit report shall confirm whether or not public money has been applied lawfully and in an effective way. If we are unable to get to that conclusive report because we allow all this opening and reopening, and if you look at Article 229.8, Parliament cannot change a comma, cannot add a full stop, cannot dot an E, cannot dot an I in an audit report. Parliament is only required to act on an audit report. And that should also inform this House position on the question of which audit report should be used for equitable share or for sharing revenue between the national and the county governments. Upon a report being signed by the Auditor General, that report is complete and that's the report we should be using. This idea that the report has to be cleared by the National Assembly has no feet to stand on. The Auditor General is an independent office. This House or the National Assembly cannot change that report. It can only act on it. And so to say that a report of the Auditor General has to be cleared or validated by the National Assembly or by the Senate is to misrepresent the law, and it has affected counties to the point that we are using budgets that are way, way outdated to fund counties. And that's why you find that most counties are struggling with the funding. This House should insist, and I hope to see it in this thing, that the audit report to be used for the equitable, for sharing revenue between the national and the county governments is as signed by the Auditor General, not as whatever the National Assembly does and the Senate does with these reports. Is basically to look at the reports and see if there's anything they can act on. It doesn't change the report, it doesn't validate the report, and so it cannot be used to deny county governments the funding they require. Finally, Mr. Speaker, there's a big problem I'm seeing in Section 37, which introduces Section 41A into the Act. It's introducing, the section says there's established a fund to be known as the Public Audit Fund. Mr. Speaker, when you look at Article 206 of the Constitution, it says there is established a consolidated fund into which shall be paid all money raised or received by or on behalf of the national government, except money that is reasonably excluded from the fund by an act of parliament and payable into another public fund established for a specific purpose. We have seen a habit in this country, Mr. Speaker, whereby they establish funds, then they say that parliament will appropriate money to that fund. Money going to the fund must be excluded by parliament from the consolidated fund. And the import of that is that you cannot create a fund without a mechanism for funding it. So where is the money that will go into this public audit fund come from? So, Mr. Speaker, we should look at this particular section and see if we are creating this fund, then where will the money to fund this fund come from? The Auditor General does not generate funds, so we cannot say that the funds will be appropriated in aid. The Auditor General depends on money appropriated by the National Assembly. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a bill that is good, but it requires a lot of work to bring it up to scratch and to make it meet the thresholds that are clearly spelled out.
Senator Mtata. Senator Mtata has not requested the chair for any additional time. Take your seat, Senator Mtata. You had concluded on your submission. Senator Nyamu, Karen? You know, if you had done that, Senator Osotsi, you are, of course, aware that the chair has a very high regard of Senator Mtata, especially being a member of the Jailer Committee, a serious member for that matter. I would have given him more time. And being, of course, a presidential candidate. Thank you. Senator Karen, take the mic on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public audit forms the backbone of accountability in government, Mr. Speaker. And every shilling collected from Kenyans must be able to be traced and must be able to be accounted for. And so the Office of the Auditor General plays a very critical role in safeguarding public resources. Any amendment to the Public Audit Act must be able to strengthen this office and not weaken it, Mr. Speaker. This House is tasked with protecting counties and also protecting funds that find their way to the county governments, Mr. Speaker. And we must be very careful as Parliament the kind of amendments that we are allowing to pass through this House. I have gone through the proposed amendments, and I have noticed that some of them either weaken the role of the Office of the Auditor General by way of allowing CSs or other public officers to be able to interfere, and also causing delays and introducing other layers, introducing provisions that introduce other layers in our audit process, Mr. Speaker. Kenyans expect this House to be able to hold public institutions accountable and not be able to introduce amendments that will weaken this process, Mr. Speaker. I'm calling upon this House to ensure that we do not pass some of these amendments, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues have spoken at length about the provisions. I do not need to go over them again, but I need to go on record as having cautioned this House to make sure that we are strengthening the audit process and not weakening it, Mr. Speaker. And with those few remarks, I do not support.
Senator Manzo, Daniel Kitonga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to comment on this very, very important bill. The Auditor General comes under a specific enactment of the Constitution, 229, and is much recognized by law as an independent office. And it is a very, very important office. And since the new Constitution, other than the Kibaki government, the other governments didn't like the Auditor General very much. It is normal for the Auditor General not to be liked by governments. So when you come up with a law, at a time now, even the Auditor General is not liked most. And this law originates from the National Assembly. The independence of the Auditor General is compromised by these amendments. And in fact, it gives, and at the same time, removes a cross back. And you can see from 229, it says, there shall be an Auditor General who shall be nominated by the President and with the approval of the National Assembly appointed by the President. To be qualified as an Auditor General, a person shall have extensive knowledge of public finance or at least 10 years experience in audit or public finance management. And it goes on to explain, within 6 months after the end of each financial year, the Auditor General shall audit and report in respect of that financial year. So, the work of the Auditor General is highly cut, and within number 8, subsection 8 of that is within 3 months after receiving the audit report, Parliament or the County Assembly shall debate and consider the report and take appropriate action. So, this touches very heavily on devolution and also touches very heavily on national government. All government institutions are audited, ministries are audited, counties are audited, county assemblies are audited, and a lot of times many government organizations don't like the auditor's report. And in fact, the auditor's report, while this law was being set as complaint of insufficient funding, as complaint of not being given information in time by government, and it is one of the biggest organizations which will help the country fight corruption. The biggest problem in this country, Mr. Speaker, is corruption, and up to now, we have not managed to fight corruption properly. Mr. Speaker, although the ESCC is doing its best and the DCI, they are getting frustrated at times from the DPP's office, because the Constitution gives the DPP the power to enter null prosecute, end proceedings. And even when the DPP is presented with evidence, sometimes they say this evidence is not sufficient to warrant a prosecution. And therefore they send it back to the investigators. And that back and forth, a lot of time goes, and many people get away with serious crime. And that's how you have ended up with the people being suspected of corruption before, people being ministers, people being governors. They are still serving in government while they have got a lot of pending issues, which has already been pointed out by the Auditor General. And therefore, the Auditor General is very integral in terms of fight of corruption. And if you weaken the Auditor General, you already weakened the DPP, you already weakened the ESC, you already weakened DCI in terms of investigations, then you are clearly opening a floodgate of corrupt people. So it doesn't matter the good intention of the country, the good intention of the government in power, which sets up all manner of funds, infrastructure funds, without being properly audited. The infrastructure fund, most of it will go to cartels. We'll have projects going on which are not being completed. And a good example of this is there's a country, Mr. Speaker, where a lot of corruption is done through projects. That in that country they wanted to build, they suffers a lot of floods, like just here in Kenya. So they wanted to build dikes to control flooding and even dams to control flooding. But that money could not be explained. Parliament could not explain it well. The auditor could not explain it well. There was a lot of collusion. So the people went on strike. When the people went on maandamano, on that particular issue, when the floods came and went through people's homes, floods are very annoying, just like it has happened in Kenya. And then when this triggered a very serious revolution in that particular country. And therefore, we don't want Kenya to be like many other bad examples in the world. We want, if it is an infrastructure fund, not a coin should be lost. We want the Auditor General to advise before you auction or sell public assets like a Kenya pipeline, KPC. We want a proper independent advice other than the advice of some people. You know, you get very much worried when the country goes to trade at the stock exchange. Suppose then, out of the ongoing situation in the world, that stocks perform badly, it means the new owners of KPC and any other institution which has been sold are going to have a problem, and they are going to make losses. Therefore, the Auditor General's office is very and extremely critical. It cannot afford to be weakened. This law is making it a little bit strong. Then you have another amendment making it very much weak. For example, in 27, Mr. Speaker, you bring in, you say that functions of the advisory board, subject to Section 10 of this Act and upon approval by the Auditor General, the Audit Advisory Board shall generally be responsible for providing advice on budget plans and estimates, human resource management, strategic planning and development, and any other matter that might be referred to the board by the Auditor General. Now, the AG under 31, the AG is a very, the AG's office is actually audited by the Auditor General. So section that one. Section 38 of the Principal Act is amended by inserting the words economically efficient and immediate after the word lawful. Now, one of the key persons under 27 is the AG. The AG is audited. When Omutata goes to court, or any Kenyan who does a public petition in a matter related to finance, it is the AG who will come and defend the government. Yet the AG is one of the people to sit in the advisory board. Therefore, it compromises the position of the country such that as much as you want to fight corruption, you want to save the country's money, you want to have proper accountability. My very honest opinion and submission is that this law dilutes accountability in the country. It is very suspect, and Senate be what it is, the senior house, we really want at third reading to do thorough amendments to strengthen, to achieve the purpose of a strong Auditor General, and to make sure that the Auditor General is well funded. But you cannot be well funded, then at the same time you have no power, to deal with those who don't comply, when the counties don't comply. And Mr. Speaker, is at the same time, and this needs to be one part of the information and performance of the Auditor General, you have a situation whereby there is nothing happening in the counties. Why? Monies have not gone to the counties to do the relevant things, or they arrive too late when the financial year is closing. Now, how is that county likely to perform in its duties, yet the executive announces that we have funded the counties? So, you give misleading information to the public, and the public expectation goes very high, and put politicians into a lot of trouble. You put the Senate into trouble, you put the governors into trouble, and you put the people, questioning and doubting. So I think we should make it clear that counting monies should arrive in good time, because the audit also has timelines. So how do you get audited when the timelines have not been met? How do you deal with the former governors who now want to become senators, yet we are still auditing and dealing with their accounts and what they did when they were there? And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we cannot compromise the current constitution. It is very strong. It is clear on the independence of the Auditor General. We should not weaken it. We should make sure that the Auditor General is strong. The other thing, and Omutata has alluded to it, there are too many definitions. And even when you benchmark, we want to benchmark with the best practices in the world. We want where countries are properly fighting corruption, and look at similar provisions, just as I was bearing in mind that we are a Commonwealth country. There's no perfect government anywhere in the world, but a government must be checked properly. Now, if you look at an act of parliament, if you look at the introduction, an act of parliament to amend the Public Audit Act 2015 for connected purposes, enacted by Parliament of Kenya, meaning both Senate and National Assembly. This act may be cited as the Public Audit Amendment Act 2025. Then it goes on to do the definitions. In paragraph A of the definition of the words accounting officer, by deleting the expression in 16(1)(b) and substituting thereof the expression of 4(2)(a). Then by deleting the definition of Auditor General and substituting therefore the following new definition. Auditor General means the Auditor General appointed in accordance with Article 229 of the Constitution. Therefore, the point I'm trying to make with these amendments is that we want to give and take away at the same time. The whole idea is to demean the Constitution. You cannot amend the Constitution through the back door. You cannot amend the Constitution through an act of parliament. It is an exercise in futility. It's a wastage of the House time. We, as a country, have a lot of money. We raise a lot of taxes. We want this money to be used properly for the benefit of the people of Kenya, but not for the benefit of a few highly connected individuals, and especially in the infrastructure sector, where that is where the biggest corruption takes place. We want an auditor who can tell us how much does it cost to do 1 kilometer of tarmac in Kenya, in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Rwanda, in countries where corruption is not high. How does it so if the prices differ, and the audit should be able to show that. And we also want this office strengthened so that it has enough professionals who can be able to deal with the situation. There is no way auditors will not work without lawyers, will not work without engineers, because of the construction of infrastructure, dams, roads, and the like. We have to strengthen. So these amendments are a conspiracy, Mr. Speaker. They are calculated towards weakening a very important constitutional office. They are calculated to frustrate it in a mild way, so that by the time the country notices, we are really on our knees in terms of inability to fight corruption. We really want a law which will properly audit all the monies we have and make sure that every money has been good to put use. And for those who have stolen it, then they must face the law squarely. They must be prosecuted properly. We must strengthen the office of the Auditor General, and Parliament has also to do its part with a lot of zeal and deciding that it must take the bull by the horns. Otherwise, if we just rubber stamp everything which comes from leader of majority in National Assembly, then we are likely to do a disservice to Kenyans. We are likely to frustrate Kenyans. And Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, are watching us. The young people of this country are thinking different from us. They want a fair country. They want a better run country. They want a law which is strong to fight corruption so that they may get opportunity. They want a country which is not overtaxed. And they want a country which everybody feels free to be in and to participate. We do not want a situation because we have a poor economy, because of looting, because we have a weak oversight systems, that our people end up working in Arabia, who we should be doing business with. If we invest properly in infrastructure, in the northern Kenya, in eastern Kenya, in Ukambani, where we should be doing the Thwake Dam to do massive irrigation. Massive irrigation comes with high food production. It also comes with, keeping animals in an organized way where we can, breed cows which will give us a lot of milk. and we'll be able to sell to the region and we'll have enough to eat as our country. But when we have weak systems, then poverty crops into the country. And Mr. Speaker, the countries where they have allowed the big difference between the rich and the poor to be very wide, and we have visited some of these countries. Today I'm not naming countries because of international relations. Kenya needs other countries, and we have Kenyans living in those countries. I don't want them to get into trouble. But the countries in Africa and even outside Africa, where the gap between the rich and the poor is huge, the rich who have stolen money find it very difficult to invest. You invest, you have beautiful hotels, you have beautiful buildings, but you have idlers, criminals, young people walking around those buildings 24 hours. So the hotels, because of insecurity, fail to have business. So what do you have? You end up with an insecure country, which tourism doesn't favor, and it makes bigger losses. It all begins with a weak Auditor General's office, which should be strong and then give strong recommendations and compromised positions to the houses, to Parliament, and then once you audit and you present, then you are able to catch the thieves, and you are able to prevent corruption, and you are able to prevent monies from being stolen. But we cannot make a law which is going to aid a few people. It doesn't matter which government is in power. We must protect Kenya first before we protect ourselves. We must protect the integrity of the country first. We must protect the taxpayers' money. And I am very sure if currently, even despite the high taxes, Mr. Speaker, if people could see action, you see devolution working, you see roads in the village, you see water in every household, you see irrigation, you see big towns, abattoirs in Marsabit, you see new airports in northern Kenya and in eastern, flying food produce, slaughtered cows to Middle East through halal, through the halal meat. We'll have huge market. Our competition is very far, Mr. Speaker. We are the nearest. If we do it that way, then we will be serving Kenyans properly, better. Otherwise, we have no business being in this house to make a weaker law which will allow corruption in the country, which will allow finishing the country. I want to challenge the Senate to arise and not be part of this, and therefore reject this bill, send it back so that it can be made better, stronger, and for the business of the country. And finally, even to get the best practices in the world adopted by ourselves, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, and I really want to state that it is important that other members get an opportunity to contribute so that we don't just have a few people who have debated on this bill. It's a very important bill, just like the culture bill. This is even more important. We wish that many more members could have an opportunity to deal with this bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I oppose.
Senator Mugeni Eric Okongo, Senior Counsel, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manso, you may take your seat now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also make my contributions to this public audit amendment bill that has been forwarded to us from the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, let me first begin by stating very firmly that we should never, as a Senate, Mr. Speaker, or even as a Parliament, pass amendments that are meant to reduce the independence and the effectiveness of the office of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, the way our Constitution was crafted, the office of Auditor General is supposed to be independent to enable it audit how public funds are expended. Mr. Speaker, if we send any signal to the country that we intend to weaken that office, Mr. Speaker, then we will be telling the country that we want corruption to reign in this country. And let me be on record, Mr. Speaker, as one of those Kenyans who stand out to compliment Nancy Githungu, our current Auditor General, for her courage and for the independence she has displayed and for making us proud of our girl child, Mr. Speaker. Because there are many men, maybe, if they occupied that office, they would not have exhibited the kind of courage and independence that we have seen from Nancy Githungu. So if for anything, in defense of the girl child, Mr. Speaker, I'll oppose some of the retrogressive proposed amendments in this bill that is before us. And I want to tell Nancy Githungu, congratulations. You are often the last line of defense for Kenyans in many things. Mr. Speaker, you know the many, many scandals that have come to the fore because of what Nancy Githungu does. And I think, Mr. Speaker, if we don't have a strong independent auditor, we will not have work to do as Parliament. Many of the scandals that come to our attention as members of Parliament is because of what is highlighted by Auditor General. The Committee of Public Accounts Committee will never have any work to do, Mr. Speaker, if that office is weakened. And I'm sure the same thing for our colleagues who sit in the National Assembly. So let me be on record by stating very clearly that there are some sections in this proposed public audit amendment bill that are very, very retrogressive, especially, Mr. Speaker, clause 21 that is proposing to amend section 25 and introduce what they are calling audit advisory board. Luckily, Mr. Speaker, you know you are a lawyer. You know the history of our constitution. You know that when I served as the chair of Ethics and Corruption Commission, we had what we called an advisory board. Advisory boards used to exist, Mr. Speaker, under the previous constitution. So I think the person who drafted this bill has not internalized the provisions of the current constitution that introduced commissioners. There is nobody, there is no independent office, Mr. Speaker, in our current constitution that is backed by an advisory board. All offices that have something resembling a board are backed by commissioners who are themselves independent and who enjoy security of tenure. So, Mr. Speaker, then, how can we try to introduce the so-called audit advisory board that is not, that has got no room in all the provisions on Auditor General in the current constitution? I think, without missing words, Mr. Speaker, I'm of the opinion that if these amendments were to see the light of the day, they will be unconstitutional. And I'll be pleading with my colleagues to go through this bill with a tooth comb and go through it very keenly. You know, Mr. Speaker, we exist as a upper house so that bills that may sneak through the National Assembly can capture the attention of our Senate, because we are fewer. We are often given an opportunity to relook at bills afresh. And this is one of those bills. And Mr. Speaker, I heard my friend, Senator Manzo, speak about some of the most vibrant and strong audit offices in the world. And I heard him speak about the US, Mr. Speaker. And yes, indeed, in the US, Mr. Speaker, the Government Accountability Office is a very independent office. The occupant of that office, Mr. Speaker, is picked by the president, but it's one of those very rare offices where the occupant must get the approval of the Senate. And Mr. Speaker, listen to this. You know their tenure in office is 15 years. And why 15 years? So that she serves long tenure, gains good experience on how government functions, and she gets an independent mind when she's auditing government offices, so that you don't have fear that if I do this against the government, I'll be removed. Mr. Speaker, I cannot imagine how we can propose that the Auditor General, the Attorney General should be a member of the Audit Advisory Board. That should never happen. That should never happen. And Mr. Speaker, I pray that when this bill will be debated, God will give me an opportunity to be in this house. And I oppose this particular clause. We must move an amendment, Mr. Speaker, to delete this particular amendment in section 21. Because it says that there is established an unincorporated board to be known as the Audit Advisory Board. Mr. Speaker, the membership of that board include B, Attorney General. And then we have gone back to what we used to have before. The section says that there will be a nominee of the Institute of Certified Public Accountant. Mr. Speaker, you know that we have made a shift. We say anybody who is being appointed to serve in the public office, there must be a merit-based process on how you pick such a person. And it must also be competitive. We cannot go back to what we used to have before this new constitution when you are telling us that bodies should nominate people. You have seen what happens. Look at many of the statutes where we have given these slots to bodies like court. You send a request to those bodies. They nominate themselves, Mr. Speaker. They don't give an opportunity to the members of those bodies. So we cannot allow this idea of saying Institute of Certified Public Accountants to nominate a person, Institute of Human Resource Management to nominate a person, Institute of Internal Auditors of Kenya to nominate a person. No, that will be unconstitutional, Mr. Speaker. Even judges, you can imagine, Speaker, judges, as we speak today, there are a number of Kenyans who are going through a competitive process of picking judges who will serve the country. And they are doing so through a process where the job is advertised, you apply, you are interviewed, and then they pick the best to occupy those positions. Even worse, Mr. Speaker, is the idea of saying that some other members can be co-opted to sit in that advisory board. But what is even more alarming, Mr. Speaker, is the powers that that body has been given. How can we take away, Mr. Speaker, the power of doing budget plans and estimates? The Constitution does not know anybody other than the Auditor General. It is the Auditor General who should present estimates to the Budget and Appropriation Committee of the National Assembly. If you transfer this power to this advisory board, you'll be weakening the office of the Auditor General. And then there is the other risk that we must warn ourselves. And I will say this even if Dr. Fred Matiang'i is my president. I'll say it even when now President William Ruto is our president. We must always be cautious, Mr. Speaker, not to allow advisory bodies that may be susceptible to political influence. Let us allow the Auditor General's office to be independent. Nobody is an angel, Mr. Speaker. Today you have William Ruto in office. You don't know who you are going to get tomorrow. So when we pass a law, we are passing a law for posterity. We cannot allow this proposed amendment introducing section 27, where the powers of the Attorney General are being taken away and being given to a body that is not known in our constitutional framework, an advisory board to the Auditor General, Mr. Speaker. Just imagine that that advisory board is given powers of human resource management. That is so vague. What does that mean? Does it mean that it's the advisory board that can sack? Okay? Does it mean it's the one that will be transferring auditors across the country, Mr. Speaker? How can you take away even the power of strategic planning from the Auditor General? I think if there is a bill that we should show Kenyans that the Senate as people, like the good senator of Narok, who understand our constitution, Mr. Speaker, and who have committed to protect independent officers, we should demonstrate that ability by rejecting some of the clauses in this bill, Mr. Speaker. We should never, Mr. Speaker, be seen to be people who are fearing the kind of scandals that are coming to the fore because of the good work of the Office of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, if you limit or remove the powers of this Auditor General, the resultant effect will be that we'll be weakening the authority of the Office of the Auditor General. And then we'll be letting be susceptible to the control of this external body called the advisory board. And Mr. Speaker, you know the fights we have witnessed in this country between occupants of certain offices and advisory boards. I've not seen any issue that can point to any scandal around Nancy Githungu. She has run the Office of Auditor General very professionally, Mr. Speaker. If we introduce this new animal called an advisory board, Mr. Speaker, we will introduce some, some friction in the Office of the Auditor General. That should not happen, Mr. Speaker. Then number two, Mr. Speaker, if you place human resource under the advisory board, wouldn't you be taking away the power, the investigative autonomy of the Office of the Auditor General? Should we, as the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, be the ones sanctioning such a move, Mr. Speaker? My humble submission, Mr. Speaker, as I make my contribution to this bill, is that we should never, never do that, Mr. Speaker. Anything that has the potential of weakening the effectiveness of Office of the Auditor General should not get the sanction of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, there are few clauses that are very, very progressive. So if we are able to sit down, reject some of these clauses like clause 21 and clause 27, okay, I'll be happy. There are some clauses that are very progressive, Mr. Speaker. I can see that there is an attempt to introduce what we are calling citizens accountability audits, Mr. Speaker. You know, I've stated here, Mr. Speaker, how sad me and many residents of the county government of the county of Nyamira are, because we are standing at the risk, Mr. Speaker, of losing FLOCA money because of poor management of those funds by the executive in the county government of Nyamira. So I'm a bit impressed by this attempt in Article 32 that points towards giving the people of Kenya some window of pushing for audit on some of some of the areas where it is evident that public money has been misused. Now, Mr. Speaker, can you imagine the CS Treasury wrote a letter to EACC in October last year, asking them to go and conduct some investigations on the usage of FLOCA money in the county government of Nyamira. As we are speaking today, Mr. Speaker, you saw the embarrassment I went through when we were at the retreat in Naivasha. Peter, who is in charge of FLOCA money, was pointing at me and saying, your account, you in Nyamira, we have closed the accounts. Mr. Speaker, I don't manage resources in Nyamira, Mr. Speaker. If anything, after that, I went to plead with Peter and urged him to push EACC to go after the people who have stolen that money, but have sympathy on the people of Nyamira by allowing funds to go, but we go after the criminals, Mr. Speaker. Because when you have a blanket suspension of disbursement of money to Nyamira, Mr. Speaker, the governor is smiling. You know, I told Peter, please knock on the doors of EACC or DCI. They go for that one human being who has stolen that money from the people of Nyamira. But the poor women, Mr. Speaker, who need to be supported by FLOCA should get the money. And I had a sitting with Peter, and they assured me that maybe by end of this month or early March, if the governor can open his ears and listen to some of the reforms they want him to undertake, maybe the people of Nyamira will get their money. And that is the same problem the people of Kajiado are facing. So I hope, Mr. Speaker, when, if we are able to do a cleanup on this particular bill, and we allow what they are calling periodic citizen accountability audits, that will be a good enhancement of the powers of the office of the Auditor General. I'm also happy, Mr. Speaker, with what is in clause 38B that says that the Auditor General can undertake compliance audit to examine whether a public audit has complied with relevant laws or regulations. Mr. Speaker, you have seen what you have seen in terms of abuse on human resource in our counties. Many of our governors, Mr. Speaker, have turned counties to be employment bureaus, Mr. Speaker. And how I wish, Mr. Speaker, that instead of just focusing on these human resource audits to the national government, this is a task, Mr. Speaker, that should extend not just to the national government, but, Mr. Speaker, generally to all public entities. May they be parastatals, may they be county governments, and the likes, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, people want development. People want medicine in hospitals. People want to see water flowing to their homes, Mr. Speaker. I was reading a report on water accessibility in the country, Mr. Speaker. And the report tells me that in the county government of Nyamira, since inception, not even one household has had a connection of piped water. Not even one household. Just imagine. And yet, when we were enacting the Constitution 2010, Mr. Speaker, the people of Kenya had a lot of hope that if water is devolved, then we will have piped water in our homes. That is something that is yet to happen to date. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, my take is that there are two clauses I've identified that are clearly unconstitutional, that are sending the wrong message, that Parliament is not happy with the scandals that are being unearthed by the Office of the Auditor General. Those clauses are sending a message, Mr. Speaker, that we want to weaken the independence of the Office of the Auditor General, and those ones, Mr. Speaker, should not see the light of the day. The few clauses, Mr. Speaker, that are meant to enhance the powers of the Auditor General, those ones should be supported. Mr. Speaker, even the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, who is a lawyer, and she's a senior counsel, Mr. Speaker, I hope when we do public participation, Mr. Speaker, she will appear before us and say it is a conflict to allow the Office of Attorney General to sit in an advisory board under the Office of Auditor General, yet, Mr. Speaker, our own office is subject to the jurisdiction of the Auditor General in terms of audits. And you know, this is the other irony, Mr. Speaker. When we challenge this bill in court and say it's unconstitutional, if it becomes an act of Parliament, one of the responses will be the Office of the Attorney General. So she will be conflicted. She will be coming to court defending a position that has been created for her office through this bill. So I'm also appealing to Madam Dorcas, who is a senior counsel herself, that let her come forth, Mr. Speaker, and make a presentation.
You want to conclude on that statement? Please give him 1 minute, yes. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, let her make life easier for us. She appears before us and makes a presentation disowning the inclusion of our office in that audit advisory board by pointing out that if this law is enacted, she will be extremely conflicted as an Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Thank you, Senior Counsel Mogeni. Now, Senator Alan Chesang.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I am looking at this bill, Mr. Speaker, and the few amendments that have passed through, the few minutes I've been sitting here. I am looking at functions of the auditor, functions of the Audit Advisory Board. That is on section 27, that says, subject to section 10 of this Act and upon approval by the Auditor General, the Audit Advisory Board shall generally be responsible for providing advisory on A, budget plans and estimates, and B, human resource management, strategic planning and development, and C, it says any other matter that might be referred to the board by the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, looking at this bill, Mr. Speaker, I am looking at the functions of the Auditor General. And Mr. Speaker, I believe even us as the Senate, we depend mostly on the Auditor General or his office to oversight our county governments. And so far, Mr. Speaker, we've had so many challenges with the office of the Auditor General. And I believe instead of taking these functions from them to this advisory board, Mr. Speaker, we ought to strengthen this office instead of taking functions from them, Mr. Speaker. We have seen, we've had several meetings with the Auditor General, and we've seen maybe them complaining about their budgets and other things. So one thing that we should do as a Senate is to strengthen them instead of taking these functions from them, Mr. Speaker. We've seen, if you see the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, under section 229, it says an audit report shall confirm whether or not public money has been applied lawfully and in an effective way. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this bill is taking these functions from them. We have seen when we have reports from the Auditor General, we see its office has been sending their agents to our counties to do audits. We have seen whatever happens when the report comes to the Senate from the Auditor General, and we have seen challenges that they've had and also their budget allocations and stuff. And I think, Mr. Speaker, if you ask me, what we should be doing as a Senate is to strengthen this office instead of taking functions from them. When we put budget plans and estimates to this advisory board, that means that the Auditor General will be the chair of this committee, but the board will be determined by the advisory board, whereby it is very easy for the board to be corrupted, and the person who is to make the decision, Mr. Speaker, should be the Auditor General. So myself, Mr. Speaker, I do not support this bill because we are not strengthening. Actually, we are just amending these laws for the current situation, but not the future of this country. Mr. Speaker, if you look at this is section 31, it says that Roman 3, it says that where an accounting officer fails to address issues raised by the Auditor General to the satisfaction of the Auditor General, the accounting officer is liable to disciplinary action in accordance with A, the terms and conditions of that accounting officer, appointment or employment, B, any provisions prescribed by this act, and any other act or regulations made thereunder for the purposes of this section. Mr. Speaker, this provision does not state what penalty is given. If there is any fine that should be paid, if there is any, penalty that should be given to anyone who breaks this law, Mr. Speaker, it has to state clearly what penalty that should be given, instead of telling us that the accounting officers appointed or unemployed, any provisions prescribed by this act and any other act or regulations made thereunder for the purposes of this section. So it does not state any penalty, what amount, what fine should be paid. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill, I think we should look at it very keenly, because we are just taking functions from the Auditor General. For me, we should be looking at strengthening it. We should be looking at making laws that, like how we can put forensic audit, or merging it with other government agencies, so that they can be able to achieve their mandate as auditors, Mr. Speaker. And when we take these functions from them, Mr. Speaker, that means we are weakening oversight of our institutions. That makes it, it weakens the Auditor General and does not strengthen it. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we should, personally, I do not support these few amendments of this bill. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Senator Alan Chesang, when the House resumes, you will be having 12 minutes to conclude on your contribution to the bill. Now, honorable senators, it's now 6:30 p.m. Time to adjourn the Senate. The Senate, therefore, stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 12th of March, 2026, at 2:30 p.m.
Hebu tusikilize yanayoendelea kwa sasa.
Full charade meant to hoodwink the public that the MOU had been implemented when it is obvious to all Kenyans that nothing could be further from the truth. This fact became apparent in a most embarrassing manner when attendees led by the Governor Cecily Mbarire openly challenged the President on the contents of the so-called report. Observers would also have noted that the President purported to extend the mandate of